I've never really gotten on with the concept of sleep. I don't know why, but I've always had trouble getting the right amount of rest at night. It's like at night, my brain actually works, but during the day, I might as well be a zombie. My biological clock must be wrecked or something. But my bad sleeping pattern was easily the worst when I was a kid. In our house, bedtime was 8 o'clock sharp, which meant hours of tossing and turning all through the night, and even when I did fall asleep, I used to get really bad nightmares that would wake me up anyway, probably because I was terrified of burglars breaking into the house and eating me, or the whole house catching fire and frying me to a crisp. I blame PIFs. So, when you're a kid and you can't sleep, what do? You turn on the TV. Yeah, once everyone in the house was asleep, I couldn't resist flicking on the box, with the volume turned all the way down of course, because my parents were to rip the TV out of the room if they caught me doing anything like this. But I quickly learned that late night TV was extremely different to TV during the day. It was a fascinating world of bizarre shows, quirky presentation, and some things that you wouldn't believe. I loved it. It's an experience that only insomniacs like me can appreciate, so get up, rub your eyes, and come along with me into the crazy world of late night TV. Back in the early 2000s, I had one of those True TVs in my bedroom, a huge box that would only pick up basic TV channels through the aerial, long before Freeview or digital TV. So when you switched it on in the middle of the night, all you got was the standard stuff, BBC One, ITV, and so on. In fact, it's worth noting that back in the olden days, TV used to just go away for the night, like BBC One would just float off into the shadow realm until the next morning.
On behalf of everyone here on BBC One, this is David Miles wishing you a very peaceful night. Good night.
But by the 90s, TV turned 24 hours a day, and that meant filling up the dead hours with whatever they felt like. When it came to dead of night TV in the early 2000s, something on BBC One that always fascinated me was a little thing called Pages from Ceefax. And for those of you young people in the audience, Ceefax was basically the BBC's version of teletext, a free service where you could use your TV remote to check the weather, sport, the stock market, and other boring grown-up things like that. But despite the lack of interest in those subjects for tiny me, I always found something about the presentation incredibly charming, even when my granddad would hog the remote to check the horse racing results. It had a basic look, but that's all it really needed to be. It felt quite homely. While normally you could access Ceefax with your TV remote, the BBC used to fill dead airspace at night by showing rolling pages from the service for hours on end. You might wonder why anyone would watch this when you could just access this stuff with the click of a button, but there's one very special reason that I could never tear my eyes away from this. The music. Yeah, while you were checking the weather forecast, you could sit back and enjoy the relaxing tunes. There was something about this that used to make me feel so chill. The music got me to relax at night, and sometimes it would even help me fall asleep. Even now I'll still slap on an old recording every now and then, so as far as I'm concerned, this was one of the best sleeping aids around. Pages from Ceefax lasted an extremely long time, from 1980 all the way up until October of 2012, ending 32 years of bringing you the chill vibes.
And that was TV history. Farewell and thank you, Ceefax, for the last 38 years.
It's a sad loss, but I'll never forget how this helped me through those long nights of the soul. Another favourite of mine on BBC Two was The Learning Zone. Yes, something educational if you can believe it. From 1995 to 2015, this used to run all through the night, featuring various documentaries about all kinds of subjects, like maths, English, and technology. I always used to like the history ones the best, which makes a lot of sense since I'm basically talking about history right now. I actually think I learned more from watching this stuff than I ever did in school.
We begin with Talk Greek, a short course for absolute beginners. And then at 3 o'clock, there's general wide-ranging practical advice in how to learn a language. Chronicle uncovers an ancient Greek capital at 4. And we end the morning with an investigation into the legend of Helen of Troy.
That said, I don't think anyone was actually supposed to watch this live. Judging by the clock in the corner, I imagine a teacher was supposed to set the timer on their VCR and record this, before bringing it into school to show students the next day. Which actually happened a lot when I was in school. Anytime I'd see that clock in class, I'd be like, yeah, I know where you got that from. Sometimes teachers would even make us do homework on this stuff by going to the BBC Bitesize website, so I guess it had a lot of influence back then. Actually, looking at this makes me think of revising for boring exams, so we better get out of here before I throw up. ITV1 also had a similar service to pages from CFAX called ITV Night Screen, although this wasn't a service you could access with your TV remote. That would be the Oracle, you know? But that was before my time. ITV Night Screen was more like a glorified PowerPoint presentation, used mainly to promote various ITV shows, with a lot of competitions thrown in. Again, the big draw about this for me was the music, which was always a bit more upbeat compared to the more classical BBC tunes. It had a different feel, but I still enjoyed listening to it. But while this service lasted all the way from 1998 to 2021, you could almost watch in real time how it degraded over the years. It just became more and more basic, until, by the end, it was nothing more than the times of shows and a brief description. You could get more info from the back of a cereal box. Back in the day, it wasn't all ITV Night Screen though. When I was about 10, one thing I remember watching a lot was a thing called ITV Play. This was only available on Freeview, but it was also shown late at night on ITV1.
Be a winner on our new interactive channel ITV Play. Launches Wednesday.
It was just a bunch of quiz shows and phone-in competitions, but for whatever reason, I couldn't get enough of this back then. I even liked the colourful idents. They're like slinkies, you know? At the time I thought it was just harmless fun, but it turns out that ITV Play ended up getting into a lot of trouble over some of their phone-in competitions. Not only did it cost an extortionate amount of money to call into one of these shows, but apparently, some of the answers to certain questions were completely ridiculous. So, after numerous complaints, all of their competitions were suspended, and the channel ended up closing down, lasting only from April 2006 to March 2007. Not even a single year. Guess no one wanted to play with them anymore. ITV didn't give up entirely on its gaming ambitions though, and after a few years, they partnered up with a gambling website called Jackpot 24/7 in 2011 to bring us 2 hours of TV presenters spinning a roulette wheel over and over again.
Welcome to Jackpot 24/7. We're live on ITV. We are a real casino and we've got a real wheel in the studio where we're playing roulette.
I was actually crazy enough to watch this, even though I'm not a gambling person. But sometimes it's fun to just guess a number and see if you're right.
Well done to number 29, £108. Laughing boy. £9 to you.
It was always a bit bland, but kind of relaxing at the same time. It's like snooker, it's a bit ASMR to me. Jackpot 24/7 gambled all the way up until 2019, when it spun itself out of the casino for good.
And we have got 10 seconds to say Leah Charles King, James Green and Craig Stevens signing out for the very last time. We love you, we thank you.
Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Let's get on to satellite TV now, and for me, Nostalgia Central is Sky. Like I said though, the TV in my bedroom only covered normal TV, so no Cartoon Network or anything else. If I wanted to watch that, I had to slowly open my door and creep downstairs in the middle of the night without waking anyone up. It was terrifying. Still, once I was safe on the living room sofa, I could boot up Sky. Even Sky late at night had some pretty weird things going on, like the customer channel, which I found myself strangely drawn to in the midnight hours. The only thing they showed was a bunch of tutorials on how to use the Sky remote properly, including the fancy new Sky Plus remote, which just made me jealous because we only had normal Sky.
Use the left-right arrow buttons to see what's on later, or the up and down arrow buttons to see what's on other channels.
Because I was out of my mind, I used to watch this over and over again, probably because it had clips of The Simpsons, which equaled fun in my eyes. Sky Movies was another highlight. After midnight, this was the only time when you could watch classic action movies completely uncensored, since during the day, they'd only show the sanitized family-friendly version, and that's no way to watch Die Hard 2.
I'll send your freaking captain in L.A. a freaking commendation. I'll send your fucking captain in L.A. a fucking commendation.
I know which version I prefer. Another thing that used to catch my eye is when the sports channels would shut off for the night. I'm not into sports at all, but I kind of like the graphics, and through the night, they'd show basic schedule times with that classic Sky music. I honestly believe this is one of the best pieces of TV music ever made. There's just something about it that makes me instantly think about being up late at night. It fits perfectly. One thing that my dad loved back then was Music Choice, a red button service where you could pick from any kind of music in existence to listen to. He'd always have this on whenever he fell asleep on the sofa, so every Friday night, you could just hear the Gorillaz thumping up through the floorboards. Moving on to the actual channels, the one big thing I'd sneak downstairs to watch was Cartoon Network, which ran 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. As I've talked about in previous videos, there used to be a late night block called Cartoon Cartoons, where they'd show a jumble of all the classics for a couple of hours. Ed, Edd and Eddy, Dexter's Lab, Kids Next Door, all the hits. But after that is when you get the super weird stuff. For some reason, late nights on Cartoon Network were home to some of the most obscure shows ever made, like Fat Dog Mendoza, which I already reviewed, and The Magic Roundabout. I mean, I can't explain what this show is all about. I didn't even understand it at the time. All I knew is that I liked the theme song. You know, there used to be a family restaurant near me that had a ride of this show for little kids, and that theme song would just be echoing through the building. I'll never forget it. But the show I associated the most with late nights on Cartoon Network was Gadget Boy.
Gadget Boy, so much smarter than the rest.
This was a spin-off of the original Inspector Gadget cartoon, which I was a huge fan of, and for some reason, Cartoon Network would show this all through the night for years. Like, what was it about this show that made it so suitable for such a ludicrous time slot? Well, all I know is that I used to watch this constantly. It was all about a young version of Inspector Gadget, who I always assumed was his son or something.
Security, eh? I've got just the thing, Chief. My security blanket and pacifier. I'm much too mature for such childish items.
Like the original, he uses his gadgets to solve crimes, but instead of Dr. Claw, you have this weird villain called Spydra.
The world and all its treasures shall belong to me, Spydra, once I eliminate Gadget Boy!
I don't get it. It's just the same basic formula of Gadget Boy catching the bad guys over and over again, but somehow I was obsessed with this. I even liked the theme song.
Gadget Boy, he's so much smarter than the rest. Gadget Boy, 'cause his gadgets work the best.
There was something wrong with me. Actually, I think my favourite part was the logos at the end, like Deke. I think the late night setting of this logo kind of reinforced the vibes there, and this one was just strange. Catchy. But while Cartoon Network always grabbed me in the early hours, the other kids' channels were a bit of a mixed bag, because most of them would shut down for the night. Like Nickelodeon would always do a runner just after 11. At that hour, it made the channel feel cold and hollow somehow. CBBC was even worse. It closed down at 7 in the evening, purely to make way for BBC 3, since they shared the same airspace. It was pretty weird that one moment you could go from watching Tracy Beaker to some documentary about drug addicts half an hour later. One kids channel that kept flying the flag at night was Fox Kids, and a huge positive for me is that they'd always put on a lot of the old Power Rangers shows at that hour, usually the ones that I missed out on back then, including the original Mighty Morphin era. I always found it a bit of a novelty to check out Power Rangers Turbo or Lost Galaxy, just to remind myself of the show's history before the modern seasons I watched at the time. It's been so long since I watched the show on this channel, I forgot there used to be a big safety warning at the end of every episode.
Please remember that the Power Rangers are highly trained martial arts experts, so do not attempt any of their moves at home.
A warning I did not pay any attention to whatsoever. I was always dressing up as a Power Ranger and throwing myself over walls. After that though, Fox Kids pretty much gave up on showing anything normal at night. It just devolved into showing old 80s cartoons, like the real Ghostbusters or the original Inspector Gadget, which probably aired at the same time as Gadget Boy now that I think about it. And then they just throw on obscure stuff like Mask, which no one has probably thought about for 40 years.
Mask is the mighty power that can save the day.
Because my parents would go out, I usually had to spend Saturday nights at my grandparents' house, and around 2008, they swapped Sky for the shiny new Virgin Media. This was quite a novelty back then, since it was the first time you could catch up on TV shows you missed, or even watch things on demand. One thing that I'd watch way into the night was FilmFlex, Virgin Media's service for renting movies. For just a few pounds, you could watch brand new movies and plenty of the classics for a whole week. I'd practically spend every Saturday night doing this, and you could even buy music videos for 20p as well, which I did all the time. Good thing my grandparents were completely oblivious, or they would have killed me when they saw the bill. My biggest memory about FilmFlex was the promo, which would just repeat itself over and over again while you were looking for a movie to watch.
FilmFlex has over 500 films, including all the latest releases. On-demand films allow you to pause, rewind, and fast forward, just like a DVD. And you can watch it as many times as you like for 24 hours. Feel like an action movie or a romantic comedy? There's always something you'll want to watch. Sit down with the whole family or stay up late watching a thriller. We've got the film to suit you. FilmFlex, over 500 films at your fingertips.
Sometimes I'd fall asleep in the middle of a movie, and I'd wake up to this guy's voice echoing in my head on endless repeat. He'll never leave my brain.
FilmFlex has over 500 films, including all the latest releases.
Another late night stop for me was Challenge, a channel dedicated to classic game shows. There's a lot I could say about this channel, but at night, they'd always break out the obscure stuff, like the 80s game show Bullseye. I don't mind a bit of darts, and I always enjoyed this one. It's kind of tacky, but very entertaining. I love the crazy cartoon intro, and all the outdated prizes you could win.
Home accounts are as simple as pie with this home computer. Something to talk about and no walkabout. It's a TV with remote control. You'll start every day okay with this radio alarm clock.
It's history in itself. Probably the craziest show from late nights was Unbeatable Banzuki, an English dub of a Japanese game show where people would have to do all kinds of insane stunts, like completing an obstacle course while doing a handstand or on a unicycle. Only in Japan, eh? I always found this highly amusing, and the icing on the cake for me was Brian Blessed, the show's host, who I can only describe as a nutcase trapped inside cyborg armor.
Welcome to the Temple of Banzuki! I am Banzuki Brian! What infuriating and deceptive challenges do I have in store for you today? Let us find out right now. Yeah!
For some reason, this UK dub is completely lost to time aside from one episode, probably because it was only shown in the graveyard hours, but I look back on it fondly. Find the rest, I say.
Today I have eaten challengers for breakfast. No one won. Except me.
If you want to get really obscure, there was also a spin-off channel called Challenge Jackpot. On ITV1, it replaced ITV Play from 2008 to 2011, before Jackpot 24/7 took over.
This is ITV1, this is The Zone, and welcome to the world of Challenge Jackpot, where tonight we can turn £50 into £120.
This is another thing I vividly remember on those late nights, which just shows how much of an insomniac I was. The power of the spinning roulette wheel had a mystical hold over me. As I got closer to my edgy teen years, I exposed myself to MTV. Even in 2008, this was already when music television stopped showing music, so in the late hours, I used to enjoy catching a double bill of South Park, which became a bit of a tradition for me.
It's like waiting for Christmas, times 1,000.
South Park, part of Main Stage Sunday at 10 on MTV.
Then when it got really late, you could enjoy the anarchy of Jackass.
Hi, I'm Johnny Knoxville. Welcome to Jackass.
And freak out with Viva La Bam. Well, here's one last story to finish off. When my grandparents got Virgin Media in 2007, they didn't have the full kids package at first, so that meant the only thing you could watch at night was Pop. I've mentioned before that this channel was full of stock programming from the years gone by, and back then, they had a curious block called Pop Through the Night, which basically meant showing Sonic Underground for 6 hours straight.
It's like I said, when faced with disaster, just move a little fast.
I mean, why they chose this show, I have no idea. It's one of the most perturbing shows ever made. A show about Sonic and his made-up siblings forming a rock band to fight evil robots.
I can do that for you. I can do that.
mean, what kind of deranged maniac came up with this? And what kind of twisted psycho thought it was a good idea to show this on Pop all night? And why was this the only thing I could watch at that hour? What makes it even worse is that for a couple of hours before this, all Pop would show is teleshopping for 2 hours. And if you didn't already know, teleshopping is when they show extended infomercials for various products that probably don't even work, for up to half an hour per advert. That's right, before you could watch 6 hours of a trashy Sonic show, you had to watch 2 hours of trashy ads first. A lot of TV channels suffered from this teleshopping thing to fill airtime, but Pop was one of the worst. I have this traumatic memory of watching the same infomercial for a lawnmower over and over again, because it was probably the only company that bought the airtime.
If you insist on a professional-looking manicured lawn, the Works GT2 is the easy and affordable way to get it.
Oh, I can't stand it. Get me out of here, please. Oh. Well, I think it's time for bed. Going back to the heyday of late-night TV feels like a trip into a completely different world. Between some channels going to sleep for night and all the crazy attempts to fill dead airtime, I never quite knew what I'd get when I was flipping through the channels back then. Discovering it was all part of the fun. Late-night TV entertained me, sometimes educated me, and it definitely helped me to relax. And I'll always appreciate the pleasure I got from late-night TV.
Mwah! Good night, everybody.